Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program. Welcome to another dose of Subscription Prescription, the podcast where we help you figure out everything related to e-commerce subscriptions. I'm your host, Matt Holman, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the most important things when it comes to retention for subscriptions, and that is understanding product usage. When I'm talking about product usage, I mean a couple of different things, but I essentially want you to start thinking about how someone is using your product, how often they're using it, what that usage experience is like. That's all about retention around usage. The reason this is so critical is that most subscription brands, when it comes down to cancellation reasons, people have too much product, or they didn't like the product, or they're no longer getting the surprise and delight that they were expecting, right? So these kind of core reasons around cancellation are what influence this topic. And what I want you to be able to walk away from with this dose is understanding, is a desire, if you're not doing this already, to get better at understanding usage, but also what you can do with greater information around usage. So let's start with an example. One that I have used a ton before is an example from the company called iHeartDogs, right? So they sell pet food. So pet food is kind of interesting, right? Because you'd think for the most part, people are going to buy a bag of pet food every month, right? And then depending on how you specialize, you might be selling pet food for puppies, pet food for older dogs. That might influence the amount of products somebody is using. But what's interesting about this example is a lot of times people are using a different amount of food for this depending on the size of dog they had. But most websites are designed with, hey, subscribe and save or one-time option, and here's a frequency option. So as iHeartDogs is starting to getting more and more subscribers, and over time, we're getting more and more customers. They started, and they were collecting data this whole time. One of the top reasons for cancellation for them had to do with churn. One of the top reasons for churn was the fact that people had too much product. When they started to dig into that, they started to uncover this problem that people didn't know how much to order from them. So if you had a small dog, you might have too much. If you had a big dog, you had too little. They're running into some issues around that. So what they ended up doing is going back to literally the drawing board or the product page, their landing page, and redesigned it so that you could easily select based on your dog's size. You select your dog's size, and it would give you the amount that you should be ordering for that pet. Okay, so what that allowed them to do was attack usage kind of right up front, is understanding from their consumer, people have different size dogs, so they should be ordering a different amount, or ordering the same amount but on a different frequency. So you can all order one bag, but a big dog means you should be getting one every 2 weeks. A little dog means you should be getting one every 6 weeks. And a medium-sized dog means you should get one every 4 weeks, right? So what that allowed them to do, one of the great outcomes of that is it actually boosted conversions on the landing page, and it solved downstream retention problems just by understanding usage better, okay? So one of the first places we can start attacking usage as a problem is understanding and or explaining to people how much they should have of something or how much they need to get of something. And this is done on the product page. So a classic example that I like to use as well is, say, for example, you're selling melatonin, and everybody takes 1 pill a night or 2 pills a night, depending on their age or how sensitive they are to melatonin. So in the example of so you could say to somebody, if you take this many grams of melatonin, order 1 bottle at 2 weeks. You could actually just say that without having to do a huge product page redesign. But you can put those two as options next to each other. 1 bottle, 2 bottle on a 30-month frequency, depending on how much they use. Even if it's just one type of usage where it's like 1 pill a day kind of thing, and there's 30 pills in the bottle, you should be explaining to people that you need 1 bottle a month is the right amount to get 1 pill a day. So just explaining some of that usage up front can give you a lot of positive results in onboarding somebody to how this subscription and this product is going to work. Okay. So the next thing that we're talking about usage is understanding what's actually happening on the product. So there are a lot of subscription brands that are prescribing a certain amount that you need to take. Like I just mentioned, that melatonin might be 1 or 2 a day. Or if it's a multivitamin pack, you're taking a pack each day, right? But there are plenty of other brands that are selling a mixed beverage where, depending on the amount of scoops you use, is how quickly you're going to go through it. Or coffee. Everybody drinks coffee at a different amount, right? Protein powder, different scoops. Again, I could go on and on with all these different examples that it's difficult to gauge how much people are using. This is where we come into things with like post-purchase surveys and periodic surveys with our customers. We'd like to understand more about how much people are using them. So coffee is a great example. If you're selling coffee, as part of the quiz that somebody is hitting when they're coming to the product page, or as part of a post-purchase experience, you should be asking people, how many cups a day of coffee do you drink? How many cups a day do you make for yourself at home? To get at least a gauge or an idea from a data point of how much coffee the average or typical subscriber is getting from you. And so what this data will let you do is you're starting to see people that are only periodically making that coffee, trying to push these big bundles where people are getting all this coffee up at once, which I know is great to give you better margins and improve. It's better on your CAC, right? Because you're selling a more expensive product that's got bundles. I get that. But if you're getting people that are not drinking that much coffee, you're setting yourself up for churn right out of the gate. So you either need to do one of two things. Sell a different bundle to the types of subscribers that you're getting, so that's fewer or different, or test out some different ads, different landing page to acquire a more heavy or frequent coffee user, right? Another great example of understanding what are people doing with the product. In an interview that you're going to see, actually, we recorded it recently, you're going to see it in the future, is with Jai Dolwani, the former CMO at WINC. It was just a wine subscription. So he told me this story of when they first came on, their whole process was you can choose different wines, right? And try different wines. The problem they found when they understood usage, like understanding what people are doing with the subscription, like meaning what wines they're selecting, is that for most people, they either have a preference for red wine or white wine. And so if you took about, say, a variety of like 25 different wines and you cut them in half, and then maybe depending on some of other preferences, people were picking 3, 4, 5 wines in a box. Within a month or two, they had gone through all that was available. And so when they took a step back, they realized they needed greater variety. They actually increased their SKUs so that there were many more wines available, because the type of subscriber they were getting was interested in trying new wines, but they were running out of new wines to show them. So understanding the usage, like what's going on for that subscriber, how they're using the product and interacting with the subscription, allowed WINC to start growing again because they had an offer that spoke more strongly to the way their subscribers were using the platform. Okay. Another great way of understanding this is like helping to educate people around how this usage might work. So an example of this is Mixers. They're a really great women's health supplement brand here in Utah. Love their team, love their branding. And they've got about 5 or 6 SKUs that they're selling. Their core product is a supplement that women can take to help deal with menstrual cramps, pains, hormonal balance, essentially is kind of what they're trying to help establish. The trick with something like that is the more they dove into that program, they were finding that a lot of women were not sure how it would work, right? Or it was a new habit, something they hadn't tried before. The women were wondering, how long does it take to see an outcome, like a benefit? Is it like I take one drink and suddenly I feel different? Is it something I drink for 2 weeks or 2 months to see these benefits? And so instead of getting into the retention game of trying to like throw gifts at the problem or trying to surprise and delight so that people would like stick around on the subscription longer, right? Which are very common practices and can work in some situations. They were looking at what were women doing in that first month or two when they got the product. And as they found that there was a lack or a skepticism or issues, the issue is not a gift to keep them, right? Because they aren't using the product. They're not used to the product. So they invested in trying to find ways to onboard women to the product, explaining to them how much time it would take to see that, sharing use cases and stories from other women that have been using the product. And that allowed them to speak to one of their biggest retention problems. It wasn't too much product. It was too much product because I've never used the product. and I've never used the product because it was either a new habit or I wasn't sure how this is really going to work, right? I tried it a couple times, nothing happened. So that's where we want to get into, right? So we've talked about the product page, we've talked about post-purchase. Another way is you're going to have to be surveying customers, understanding what's happening. I really do like cancellation surveys as a starting point for understanding why somebody is quitting on the subscription. And then you could also segment this just a little bit from a time factor. So it is nice to look at the average subscription cycle somebody gets before they cancel. So as an example, if somebody's going to tell you that the price is too expensive at month 8, right? They've bought from you 8 times already, 9 if you count the initial subscription or purchase. Okay, that's interesting. So something's changed for them. So let's incentivize them to try to get them to stick around longer. Maybe we need to demonstrate a little more value for them. If somebody's complaining about price in month 1, you probably have the wrong subscriber, right? So if somebody has too much product month 8 versus month 2, like you can start to segment some of those cancellation reasons to understand a little bit better what's going on. But all that is giving you some guideposts to start doing a little bit more deep digging into the program. Like I mentioned iHeartDogs, I mentioned Mixers as examples. Both of them were going a little bit deeper into why they had too much product and understanding what was happening. So when you're thinking about your subscription program, and one of the best ways you can grow is understanding what is happening at that initial unboxing experience. What is happening day 1, day 2, day 3? If you have a product that's being consumed every day, that's important. If it's a product that's being used periodically, same thing. You want to understand, how is it being used? How are your subscribers getting into it and understanding it? Because that's going to reveal to you the opportunities you have in improving retention. Another example might be something as simple as like a protein powder. Or actually, I really like a workout supplement. Another interview that's coming up is with X Endurance, right? So this is a great brand. They have an exercise supplement that I take. It basically makes you a lot faster and stronger in your endurance training. It is amazing. Again, I highly recommend this product if you are training or do any kind of real cardio. The idea is, okay, if the product works right away, boom, you're sold. You don't need to worry about it, okay? But one thing that they do that I love is they challenge people. Go do your regular workout on a Sunday. Take the product, start taking the product Monday, take the product through, and then go do that exact same workout that following Sunday. So you've taken the product 5, 6, 7 times at that point. You want to be taking it every day. That's whole part of the regimen or routine. And compare your performance. And so they're setting up the subscriber right away. This is how you test a product. This is how you start using it. They'll recommend you need to take this many pills a day, right? And start testing the product. You're going to get validation right away that this is working. So I can tell you, for them, the retention is a lot easier when people are starting to use the product like that. You're either going to get somebody who sees a result or not, and boom. The people that don't see a result or they didn't try it, they're gone. That's fine. They're able to uncover an audience of people that love the product, saw results, are going to keep using it. So again, thinking through how people are using the product, that initial unboxing experience is really, really critical. When people are opening your product, what are they seeing? What are they interacting with? If you have something that's just like a little bit different, again, if it's melatonin, you want to put in a little insert that explains that whole 1 or 2 pills thing, right? I also like understanding as part of the post-purchase, understanding if somebody's tried this before, if they're new to this, they've tried an alternative product. Like again, if you're selling like CBD for focus, if somebody has used CBD for focus before, like if the majority of your customers have used CBD for focus before, you don't need to explain to them how the focus part works, but you might want to explain a little bit of like how much they should take, what like the average person is seeing based on that usage and how often they might want to reorder. But if they're new, you want to explain to them, hey, you take this and 30 to 45 minutes later, you should notice something like this, right? We want to show people what's going to happen on the product so that they aren't surprised. And if they start wondering like if this works or not, the last thing you want is somebody to start using the product and they're supposed to take it for 3 days. They take it for 2 and they throw it out because they didn't take it that 3rd day, right? Like we want to try to fight those types of people. And again, most subscription brands I see, that is usually like the linchpin in the difference between who's sticking around or not. The people that make it to 6 months start using the product. They start seeing value from it, and then retaining those people past 6 months becomes a question of like regularly demonstrating the value or understanding what's changing for them. Everybody else is about getting them to use it and seeing that it's valuable right away, right? So again, from a holistic view, step back, trying to understand the types of customers you're getting, the types of like usage or what they're planning to use it for is always a great thing to understand. If you're selling a protein powder, are there people primarily interested in weight loss? Is it supplementing workouts? Is it because they're trying to help with bone growth or muscle growth in their older age, right? Understanding the demographics of that group lets you change how you're speaking, but also how you onboard them, right? If you find out that protein powder, majority of people that are getting that are older in age, right? Then maybe that means your unboxing experience is reinforcing that taking this is going to help them with muscle and bone growth, right? So we lean in on understanding who they are, what they're expecting, and we build into that unboxing experience so that it reinforces those things as well as trying to get over any hesitation or humps or like friction points that there might be with the product. So like if, it's something that requires some assembly, right? Or you start using it and it takes a little while. Maybe it's different. Like if you're selling a brand new, I'm trying to think of a great example here, a different shoe, right? So like Kizik, this isn't a subscription, but you kind of have to show people how to get your foot in the shoe, right? So that's a little bit different than a shoe that people are used to. So you want to show them a little bit how you get your foot in the shoe. So you create that as an unboxing experience, and then you get to looking at periodic surveys of what people are seeing and the value they're seeing, and cancellation surveys. And again, cancellation survey reasons should start giving you some ideas on what's not working. And then you want to start digging deeper by interviewing customers or reaching out to customers to try to figure that out. Oh, cancellation reasons. I also, just on that as a quick note, like try filtering in some different options. Don't keep the same 4 or 5, 6 things in there all the time. If you're getting like 1 or 2 are very, very clear winners, keep those in there, create some offers to try to keep people. But maybe there's a 3rd or a 4th option that doesn't get selected that much. Maybe try testing a few different things to see if you can get more data around what's affecting people. Okay, that is it for this week's dose. I hope that was incredibly valuable for you. Again, one of the most impactful things you can do on your subscription program is understanding how people are using the product, how they're getting on board with the product. Tackling that problem will make retention that much easier for you and your brand. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for next week's dose. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.